Guys, what is going on? I'm Josh Haave, host of this Paradigm Shift podcast. I got my man Adam Hoots on today with the green screen. I love it. And Adam Hoots, he's on a mission to not only change himself but the industry. And he is a lean construction shepherd, professor at Clemson University, author, speaker, and podcast host himself. So without further ado, Adam, why don't you give us a little background on all those hats you're wearing there?
Yeah, what's up, Josh? Super happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me. I am in the green room. I think that's what they call this, right? You got all the snacks and candy around.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh,
so
nice.
recently was informed by Mr. Shahrukh Irani that I am an adjunct professor. So I got to kind of clear that up,
Yeah.
clean that up a little bit,
Okay.
because a lot of times folks work very hard to be that professor title, and that's certainly not where I'm heading. So I want to make sure that's clear. But yeah, I do wear a lot of hats. Lean construction shepherd, running my own lean construction coaching business for the last few years. The host of the Lean Builder, Boots on the Ground with No Bullshito, where we just talk about what lean construction is, how people are using lean nationwide, and just really educating folks that there is a better way to build things. Also, a master's student here, was supposed to graduate in May, but I'm probably going to take until August for whatever reason. Right, I just didn't get the work done. We'll put it there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, I love construction. I love the people in construction, specifically those trade workers who are getting it done despite working in a broken system. So, very, very passionate about those people because honestly, they don't look like me and you, and they don't have much of a voice typically. And so we got to give them that
Mm-hmm.
voice. And we got to make sure that they're valued and respected the same way everybody else is in construction. And that's where lean comes in.
I love it, man. Yeah, I love that mission. I mean, um, you'll have to forgive me. You were talking about snacks earlier, and I got a little sidetracked. It I didn't mention this before, but I'm 24 hours into a 3-day fast, and so
I'm sorry.
your snacks got me sidetracked a little bit. But no, feeling good, and
you're starting to see things, see food, like getting super hungry. How's the fast going? Like, what is that all about?
it's actually one day is pretty easy, right? Like last time I did one was back around Thanksgiving, and I did it for 5 days, water only, and herbal tea and water was all I had, and some electrolytes. But yeah, day 1 and 2 are probably the most difficult, but after that, once your body goes into ketosis, you're like smooth sailing. You feel superhuman. But
Nice, man. Interesting. Yeah.
yeah.
Man, you're doing all kinds of cool things I got to learn more about here. Good night.
Yeah, we're only a couple minutes in. I feel we're gonna have to do a second round here. So
Sign me up.
yeah, man. But so lean construction, a lot of people may have heard that term, but like, what the hell is it? Like, I've known about lean construction. I think I heard about maybe 20 years ago. It kind of came from the manufacturing industry a little bit. Maybe Toyota was involved or something like that, but maybe you could enlighten us a little bit more. I've been doing my own research in an effort to, I'm always looking to improve the way I'm doing things in our industry, and always excited to learn about, I've been reading a lot about the lean construction, and I think I posted something, which is how we connected on LinkedIn. I posted a topic on lean, trying to figure out a little bit more. And I think I stirred the hornet's nest a little bit on in the lean community, but maybe you could give our listeners a little background and explain a little bit more about what lean exactly is.
Yeah, I'd love to, man. Thank you for that opportunity. So it's funny because there are a lot of lean junkies out there that get like super fired up over terminologies and whether you're doing it the right way or not, or that's not what the white paper says, and da da da. Like, to me, lean is a failed management philosophy from the late 1800s, right? It was called scientific management back then.
Mm.
That failed.
Mm-hmm.
And then we switched it and started calling it progressive management. That failed. And now we think calling it lean management that it's going to succeed, right? Well, I got news for you. It's failing, right? As much as I hate to say that, people are not gravitating to it. Leaders are kind of a little bit scared of it because it's really asking them to give up some of their status rights and privileges that they've earned through the
Mm.
years. And
Mm.
when I talk to people about what lean is, I think most people like to harass me and say, "Oh, lean's an acronym for less employees are needed." Right? That's false. Um, to
Mm.
me, lean is about respecting and valuing the people who are doing the work so much that we want to make their work easier, more efficient, and provide it with more quality in a safer environment, right? We're wanting to listen to the people who are doing the work so that we can make their work easier, right? A lot of people say, "Oh, it's just a matter of eliminating waste and becoming more efficient." Yes. And we're doing those two things because we care about the people so much that we want to make them successful. We want to see them succeed. When it comes down to it, people are resources, and people are resources that you only have so much capacity from. And I see it every day on job sites where we are running those people ragged. They're bending over, they're working at bad angles with hands above their head. They're doing work that is
Mm.
hard work, work that's
Mm-hmm.
um, not humane, quite honestly. And then when they have to go to the restroom, they got to go use a porta john that ain't been cleaned in 3 days. Then when they get to eat their lunch, they're sitting on concrete in the hot sun eating their lunch, right? So lean
Mm.
is about respecting people, improving our environments, and every time that we do something, we're trying to make it a little bit better every single time that we go in there and we try to get it done. And we do that through, we're looking at the 8 ways, understanding 5S, right? How are we sorting things, setting them in order, sweeping them, and then standardizing those so we can sustain it. But it all starts with respecting people and valuing the people that are doing the work so that they understand that they are a key piece to this whole thing and that nothing we do happens without those people coming first. Um,
Mm.
and unfortunately, there's
Yeah.
been just
Yeah.
in
That's,
construction, we don't value those people. So I think,
yeah.
again, lean's really, it's hard to understand because it's a way of life. It's a mindset. It's not really, you can't boil it down to one thing. And chances are, if you're a good builder, if you've been successfully building in the past, you're probably doing some things that are lean and you might just not be calling
Mm-hmm.
it that. And that's okay. I love that. That's important.
Right. Cool, man. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. What kind of, I mean, you're talking about those topics on your podcast, right?
Yes, sir.
No bullshito.
Yeah. Well, so
Cool.
I took that
And,
from a
and
gentleman
what,
named Dave. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I took the no bullshito from a
You,
gentleman named Davey Thompson out there in the LinkedIn world, and he is specifically in lean manufacturing. And I heard that, and I just loved it. And so I dove in a little bit deeper. And when you understand what the definition of bullshito is, it's actually fake martial arts. So somebody that learned a martial art and decided that they're going to take pieces of that and then make their own martial art and then sell that to people. And we find that in
mm-hmm.
lean a lot, where people might take a little piece of lean here and a little piece of lean here, and then they sell that or they push for specifically the
Mm.
tools a lot of the times, but they don't really understand the connection and value of what people bring to that. Because I'm going to tell you one thing, those tools, all those tools that we have in our belt, they don't work if people aren't doing them. And until you can convince people to try another way, you'll never have a lean job site. So without respecting people, you don't have lean, period.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think that came up a lot. I saw that in that, kind of going back to that post I had on LinkedIn. There were a lot of people in there arguing their own, they had their ego hung up on a particular theory of what they thought was lean or some lean tool practice, and kind of defeated the purpose of working together. And
Yeah,
you
again,
know
people get so caught up in the tools, and none of them work without the people that we're trying to help.
mm,
So,
mm. What's something, I mean you're boots in the ground, you're doing it every day. You're, I think you were telling me, are you like a consultant? Are you, when you get hired for these different projects, like
so
what are these?
first,
You mentioned, I'm wearing this space egg. You mentioned you have a kind of a project that you're working in that industry. Do you get hired on as like a consultant, or?
yeah, so personally, I hate the word consultant. In fact, I get a little bit offended by it because I feel like consultants know everything and they come into the game and they're like, hey, these are the plays that you need to run. Now go run them.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Versus a
Right, right.
coach. Like I like to consider myself a lean coach where I come in and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I witnessed the game and I understand the players and I'm building relationships with those people, understanding their strengths, their weaknesses, like what's going on here that is already lean and how can we amplify that? And then what's going on here that needs
Yeah.
a little bit of improvement? And then we can go and ask questions and understand why certain things are done certain ways, and then we're able to improve upon that or make standards that we can then improve upon. And so yeah, like the job that you're talking about, it happens to be at the Kennedy Space Center. I got to be a little bit ambiguous, so forgive me, but they brought me in to
Yeah.
really help drive alignment between their master schedule and what they should be doing on a daily basis to get them to meet that master schedule. And a lot of that comes from collaborating with the trades, being a willingness to be vulnerable, to be open and transparent with, hey, we have our way, right? Our CPM master schedule says this is what we should be doing, but we want to make sure that you can do this. And so we take that master
Mm,
schedule and we start breaking that down into some phases, right? Like, hey, we're going to do this phase and then that phase. And these are like 6-month periods of time where we're able to understand
mm,
how are we going to overlap? How can we flow through the project? I think that's part of the definition of lean has got to include that word flow because so many things
mm,
flow in construction, whether it's information, whether it's people, materials, logistics, trades, work, all of this stuff flows. And so we've got to understand and break down what is the true flow of the schedule. And then we're taking that from master, we're breaking that down into phase, and then we're starting to make work ready. We're starting to do a little bit of look ahead. So now we're getting into the 3 to 6 week look aheads. And then we're cementing that and we're saying, this is what we're going to do next week that aligns with our 3 week look ahead, which aligns with our phases, that aligns with our master schedule. And then we just simply break that down each day and say, okay, if this is what we have to get done in the week, we divide that by 5 or 6, or in some jobs that really disrespect people, 7. And then we understand what are our daily goals that we have to get done so that we can meet each level of this system of the schedule system that we're trying to create. And so a lot of
mm,
times folks will bring me in when the job's off the rails already and they're looking for a way to bring a schedule back. Sometimes I refer to those as crash landings, where we got to go in and the very first thing we're going to do is build trust between the GC and the trades, because 9 times out of 10,
mm.
maybe 9.8 times out of 10, there is a lack of trust in what we're doing. And that's as simple as asking questions like, hey, what's something I don't know about you? Similar to the conversation we had before starting this podcast, right? Like, if we're going to
Yeah.
rely on one another to go out there and do what we say, then we should probably know each other and know what we're impacting when we don't get it done. So that's the very first place I start. And a lot of times people look at me a little sideways, like, who is this guy and why is he asking me what food that I don't like? Right? Like, but that's the way we build trust on jobs is we got to learn about the people that we're working with so that we can then count on them and rely on them to do what they say. then we can really dive in to understand, are we doing what we should be doing in order to make this project happen? And so, yeah, typically it'll be, hey,
Mm.
come in, help us build trust, and then help us kind of gather a plan to get to the end of the job. And it's as simple as, hey, we've got X amount of time, we've got Y amount of activities. Let's divide the two and understand how many activities we have to get done in a certain amount of time.
Right. Mm. Yeah. Amen, man. um, yeah. I mean, building that, the trust thing is huge. Like, I'm brought in too, not on a lean perspective, but I want to get more involved in that. I love what you're doing here, and that's why I was like learning more about it. My background is more in the general, CPM world, you know, and brought in when things have gone a little sideways. But yeah, I like what you're doing. How can people learn? Like, if people are interested, like I am, a contractor's out there, they're self-aware, they see what they're doing isn't working, and they're looking to, do something different. What kind of resources, like, where should they start? They don't know where to start. Where should they kind of go first?
Is
Give
this
you
the
a
part of the
call?
podcast?
Call
Yeah,
Adam?
yeah. Well, is this the part of the podcast I can self promote? Is that what we do here? Because
Please.
so
Yeah.
Buddy Brumley and I wrote this book called The Old Dog Lean Thesaurus, where we were really gearing uh, this book towards people who wanted to get a start, who have maybe been builders for a while and understand
Hmm.
some of these terms without calling them terms. And so Buddy, which is, man, you won't find a better superintendent than Buddy. In fact, Buddy just won Superintendent of the Year in the Dallas Fort Worth area, works for Skiles Group.
Okay.
I think he's in his 70s, just a great human being, unbelievable builder.
Uh-huh.
And so what we did was we took 33 of the most common lean terms and we broke them down from a old dog perspective, which you can see the dog there.
Mm.
And he defined the
Hmm.
term buffers in this instant. And then I got deemed as the lean geek. And so I was able to break it down from a lean geek's perspective, or kind of that new term. And so I would offer that as a great place to start if you're just wanting to kind of figure out what some of these terms mean. Um,
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would say, there's a ton of books out there. The Toyota Way is another really good place to start. Like you mentioned, a lot of these lean
Hmm.
principles come from Toyota. Jason Schroeder with Elevate Construction is another wonderful lean coach out there who's got an awesome YouTube page. He's got great resources out there. He's written a ton of books. They're just out of my reach, but
Okay.
Jesse
Yeah.
Hernandez is another, like, again, when you want to dive into the people side of the business,
Hmm.
Jesse and Jennifer, they've got a live stream they do on LinkedIn every other Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Central Time. It's called No BS with Jen and Jess. And it's, they
Okay.
really dive into some of these people concepts. I think LinkedIn's a really good resource for that. To just
Mm.
dive in and understand what's going on. Man, I could go on and on. The Toyota Kata, right? So it's a process of understanding, like, where do you want to be? What is your ideal world? And then you understand,
Sure.
okay, where is my current condition? What am I doing right now? And then you back off that ideal world just a hair to say, what are the intermediate milestones that march me towards that goal? And then we just take experiments to help us get there. So if anybody looks that up, it's KATA, Toyota Kata. And it's a great diagram that
Okay.
helps you understand how we experiment and we just get better over time. But I want to just remind people that
Mm.
it's all about the people doing the work. So if you're making improvements that don't benefit the people who are doing the work, are you really improving? And that is a question you got to keep asking yourself. How is what I'm doing going to benefit the people who are actually installing the work? Because a lot of times we can get caught off guard in this improvement mentality and we start improving things that
Yeah.
really don't make an impact on the overall job.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I see all this talk about, technology solving things and AI improving things. And yet, while yes, you're a little bit true, we completely forget about the fundamentals. Like my, baseball coach growing up, you got to focus on the fundamentals, right? Treating people right, and just uh, basic planning, whether you're doing lean or not. I mean, I see contractors not even using basic documentation to plan the project properly. Um, yeah, and
No amount of technology is going to fix that. I guarantee it. In fact, so I heard this
yep.
story, and I don't know if it's true or not, but I'll share it with you. Sakichi Toyota came up with this whole lean thing back in the late 1800s because he saw his mother looming on a very dangerous loom. Like she was fingers close to the needle. Looming's when you spin some material to be able to make
Hmm.
like cloth. And so she was
Yeah.
doing this like super pumping the brake to get the needle going up and down, and her fingers were really close, and it was like hard work, and it was killing her. And so he spent the first 30 years of his career figuring out, how do I make the automatic loom, because I care about my mother so much. I love my mother. I care for her so deeply that I want to make her work easier. And so at
Mm.
some point, that care for the mother has gone out the window, and we're all about just making things easier and more efficient, and how can we do more with less. And but again, it's that fundamental root of, because we care about those people, and people are smart, they know whether you care about them or not. They know whether you're just trying to get a podcast recorded, or if you truly care about that topic and you really want to dive in and understand what is it all about. And so again, no shot. I was just
Yeah.
using that as an example, but same thing in the field. Like if you're just there to fix the work, to make them faster so you can get done faster, if it's done to benefit
Hmm.
you, it's not going to work.
Right.
But if it's done to
Yeah.
benefit them, the worker, the people in the field doing the work, who are doing harder work than they should be, it's going to work every single time.
Yep. Wow. Wow. How did you get started in this on this path to the lean construction shepherd?
Dude, I love that question. So, I guess it was 2011, 2012. I was at Clemson. Well, before I went to Clemson, I was diagnosed with kidney failure. And so I was on kidney
Mm.
dialysis for about a year and a half. So this was 2013. And that was a rough
Mm.
life. That was really rough. Finally, I got the news that my mother was going to be able to donate a kidney to me. And so I was going to be going under this major intensive surgery, and I was scared, man. I thought I was going to die. And so I started Googling, like, how do I get more out of life? What happens when you die?
Mm.
And I discovered the word value. And then I kept looking more and more and more, and found some on lean, and still was just like trying to understand, like, how do I get more out of what time that I have left? And it was all about focusing on value. And so I go through the transplant, and that happened January 7th, 2014. And I woke up from that, and it was like a different world, man. I honestly, some parts of me feel like I did die on the operating table, because my life has been amazing ever since. I woke up,
Mm.
recovered in about 3 weeks, and that was when Breaking Bad was just coming out. So you can imagine my blood pressure up and down as we binge watched that through my entire recovery. Um, but we did. We got through that, and I actually got a call from my vice president in Charlotte. I was working with Whiting Turner at the time. He's like, "Hey, you're going to Greenville, South Carolina, to build a job for Clemson, and I want you to be the lean champion on that project." And I was like, "Lean champion?
Mm.
What does that even mean?" And he's like, "Just go look it up, go read some white papers, and you'll figure it out." And so I did. I read every single thing. I'm like a lifelong learner, love reading,
Mm.
love just getting better and improving myself. So as I was reading some of this, I'm like, oh, boy, I do this already. Like I go out and I engage with the workers. I have them teach me things. Any chance I get to spend time with the people doing the work, I'm all for it. Because I remember at 17 when I was a plumber, and I was disrespected in every way possible, put in some nasty ditches that I should have never been in. Nobody wanted to hear my voice. And so at this point, I was a, project engineer, project manager, and I wanted to give up my status rights and privileges to those people so that their voices were heard. And so I went again doing all this research, and I knew everything about lean. And I went to run this project, and I was the lean champion, and it failed miserably. We were awful. It was terrible. Like, again, somebody would fill out their post-it note, and I was like, that's wrong. You can't do it that way. It's got to be like this. Come to find out, 10-ish years later, no, we can't take lean and just like have it at all these standards and force it on a job, because that's what I tried to do and it
Mm.
failed. But what we can do is
Mm.
take lean and make edits and modify it so that it fits the job that we're doing and improve certain aspects of the job that need improved, right? Because we don't always have to improve
Right.
everything. We might have some good standards, things that are already working. And so through that process,
Yeah.
yeah, when I woke up from that transplant and I was deemed the lean champion, which I think happens in construction a lot. It's like some vice president somewhere hears this word lean and they're like, hey, you young project manager, go do this thing. Well, guess what?
Right.
Newsflash, it's going to fail if that's how you're getting introduced to it. Now,
Mm.
if that vice president says, "Ooh, I see this thing lean, and I want to dive in, and I'm going to make some internal changes in my system first, and then I'm going to be able to educate this young project manager on what lean is." That's the route to take for this thing to ultimately succeed. It can't be forced; it has to be wanted.
Hmm. Awesome, man. Yeah, lots of things to ponder. I see we are we're coming up on time. Unfortunately, we're definitely gonna have to circle back and have lots of conversations coming
I
up,
love
man. Um,
that.
let me ask you: Did you what did you want to be when you grew up? I don't know. I
Ooh,
always like asking that of people. To what's that?
baseball player, without a doubt. I was going to the major leagues,
B-
man. I knew I
Baseball
was.
player.
Oh yeah, MLB was calling my name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I played so much baseball through high school. I went to college to play football and never picked up a baseball
No.
again. That's probably one of my
Wow.
biggest regrets. I got a little burned out on it. Um, and so now
Yeah.
I've got a son who is like also like baseball, 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 and I'm trying to like pull the reins back just a little bit to make him peak at the right time because I did not. And that is one of
Mm.
my regrets that I definitely have throughout my life. Love the question though. I love it.
I don't know. I'm always curious, like what people wanted to be, and it really kind of shines a light on their character and everything. But you have any final piece of advice or quote for us that you really love, or before we sign out?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite quote, I think it's a Gandhi quote, and he says something along the lines: "If you want to change the world, go home and start with yourself." And again, that kind of goes
Mm.
in line with what we were just talking about with that vice president who, oh, you want to do lean? Well, guess what? Maybe you should do lean before you ask somebody else to do lean. Um, because it's a
Right.
matter of like really, really making personal changes to benefit people. And I just would like to remind everybody that that is the central focus of all things, whether it's scientific management, progressive management, lean management, whatever you want to call it. We've got to focus on
Yeah.
people, empowering the people who are closest to the work to make a difference because they know the answers before you will in your executive office.
Exactly. Wow. Cool, man. Well, where can people, if they want to find out more about lean and follow you, where can they? Where's the best place for them to reach out?
I'm going to say LinkedIn. I try to stay engaged on there
LinkedIn.
as much as possible.
Okay.
We have a really, really
Yeah.
awesome community out there, very, very close knit, and everybody's so welcoming that you'll be very surprised how fast that we'll just grab you, bring you in. And before you know it, you'll be posting on Josh's posts about how personal lean is to you and what it means to you and all that stuff. So definitely LinkedIn. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got, constructionaidssolutions.com, another spot, olddogleenthesaurus.com. We do have an old dog
Okay.
community. If folks want to join us, we meet every couple of weeks to be able to craft and help better define what lean means to folks in the field, what those tools are, tips and tricks on how to, advance your learning faster than some of us have had. And so, yeah, I'd urge you, please reach out, contact me. I would love to just help you just advance your knowledge faster than what I did, because I've had some pretty hard lessons that I am very vocal and would love to just be vulnerable and transparent with my learnings with everybody to help them skip a beat to make it a little bit faster.
Love it, man. Love it. And your book's available on Amazon, right?
It is. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah, we'll put a link to all of this in the show notes when we publish this pod. And dude, thank you so much. It was awesome talking to you. And we'll talk soon.
It was an honor and privilege, Josh. Thank you, sir.
Thanks. See you guys. Take care.